Peace, YouTube. Back again with another video. Today I'm going to touch on this book I just listened to called My Bondage and My Freedom by Frederick Douglass. Very powerful book, and to be honest, I was very ashamed that it took all this time for me to really get to read this book, because I read a lot of books, but I never read this one. Nobody ever even told me to read this book. Like, out of all the people I've talked to, people I've listened to, I never really heard them say, read this book right here. You gotta read this book right here, you know? Because this book is a must read. I'm talking about for anybody, you know what I'm talking about? But especially for African American, people of the African descent, diaspora, you know. Yo, it's very important that you read this book, because out of all the movies, out of all the different stuff, this book right here really give you a first-hand take on what they were going through at this time, and it's coming from the horse's mouth. And this book, he taking you from as far back as he can remember until, like, you know, that present time, to when he was, you know, got to the end of the book. And yo, he did a lot of stuff. Like, he went through a lot. He went to a lot of different places. He went to Europe. He was chilling over there. He had made all kinds of minions and associates, friends, whatever. And this dude was smooth, yo. And he was a rebel like me. You know what I'm saying? That's why I see myself a lot in him. But it's a lot of similarities, but I'd be ashamed to ever try to, like, compare. It's, you know what I mean, when you really listen to this book, and I want you to really read the book, or get it on Audibles, whatever, and just, like, see how he got his education. He was self-educated pretty much. His master's wife taught him how to read, but he took the initiative to even ask her, you know what I'm saying, as a kid, and she did it. But then the master, you know, the husband was like, yo, don't do that, this and that. But that was the spark, you know. And he, you know, he became a Christian, but just like the country itself, he pointed out all the hypocrisy of the Christianity, you know, and especially in those times with the slaves, and then the white people, even the poor whites, you know. He gave breakdown on that. He giving you, it's like he's so impartial, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's being impartial as impartial can be in those circumstances, under those circumstances that he was in. And it's crazy. Like, I wish I would have read this book as a kid, you know what I mean? You should, like, if you got kids, you got nephew, niece, little cousins, you should have them read this book, and really have them discuss the book, and, like, because there's so much inspiration in it. But I wrote a poem, and I find it funny, before I get into the poem, he was a Christian, right? But he had a major breakthrough when he got with one of the other slaves who was into Christianity. I guess he was like something like a preacher or whatever. He was a teacher, you know, of the scripture or whatever. He knew how to read a little bit. But he had syncretized the African spiritual system to the Christianity, you know. And he gave Frederick Douglass a root and told him, yo, if you take this root and carry it, you're not gonna get whipped no more. You know what I'm saying? And it was bananas, because he, you know, Frederick Douglass was like a genuine Christian, and he felt like, you know, that was the devil, you know, but he took the root and he carried it, and he was up under this slaveholder who was like a Negro breaker. You know what I'm saying? He because Frederick Douglass was a rebel, and like he wasn't with that shit. So his master sent him to this dude who was supposed to be like a Negro breaker, this and that. Talking about how his spirits was broken, this and that. He ran away, but dude had came out to the field he was hiding in, got with him, talked to him, and told him about the route. But he took the route, he went back, and after that, he said he never got whipped again. He got bruised, you know what I'm saying? Later on in the book, he got jumped, you know, and stuff like that. But he fought though, you know what I mean? He fought, and he touched on so much about like how the different slaves who were bucked, they had, you know, their spirit, and like how the person who was easiest to whip, always got whipped. You know what I'm saying? Like how people who wasn't, the slaves that wasn't afraid of death and afraid of whatever, like they were free. You know what I mean? They had like they were free in their own way. You know what I'm saying? And I just saw myself a lot. You know what I'm saying? As being the rebel that I am, and the revolutionary that I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, game's all mental, kid. You know what I mean? This shit crazy. But I wrote a poem, and I'm going to read it off now. A feeling of taking your name largely in vain. Underappreciation and pain brings shame, yet a proudness that makes for an ambivalent ambiguity that is not in the least bit strange, but to the contrary, quite humane. In each sentence I embrace gains, plus a picture of a mental frame that couldn't be contained. Though your physical fetters were numerous, you were driven by that which was designed to constrain. I find myself humbly in your footsteps. With all due respect, in my time, there can be found similarities, but I dare not make comparisons. I take inspiration from your aspirations and manifold achievements. Our power is the higher, undying fire, which the ignorant and powerless miserably desire. Our bondage only cultivates and sharpens the power which is truly our freedom. I am Frederick Douglass. So, yeah, man, I had to write, you know. It's so funny, I was listening to the 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene, and his story came up because that book, he mostly, you know, talks about the different, like, the war strategy geniuses and stuff like that, different times, and stuff like that. But Frederick Douglass came up, and I was like, yo, I gotta read this book, man. I've been wilding, like, but you know, like I said, you always hear about Frederick Douglass, but anyway, that's how I came across the book, and I was inspired to write this. And you know, a feeling of taking your name largely in vain, because I heard his name all my life. You know, especially when I was younger, you hear about Frederick Douglass this, Frederick Douglass that. He was an abolitionist and whatever, but he had a book, you know what I'm saying? He wrote a book, and he's giving you so much. So, you know, that's why I say underappreciation and pain brings shame, yet a proudness that makes for an ambivalent ambiguity, which ambivalence, of course, is like mixed feelings, and ambiguity is synonymous to that, but it's like inexactness to, you know, it can be taken so many different ways, which this book can be taken so many different ways, no matter your nationality or your whatever your race is or whatever, So that's why I said that's not in the least bit strange, but on the contrary, quite humane. You see what I'm saying? That's why, this is for anybody, any walk of life, any person up under any kind of religion or whatever doctrine. You can take so much from it, And each sentence I embrace gains, plus a picture of a mental frame that couldn't be contained. This dude, he didn't know who his father was. He said a lot of slaves, they masters was their fathers, or they had descent from other masters who were slave. The masters used to have sex with the slave women, impregnate them, then sell their own children. You know what I'm saying? Like, the shit is so twisted. But which you might have known that already, but he's telling you that he might have been a product of something like that, and he was separated from his mom. He didn't, as a child, he didn't really understand the slavery thing. He lived in like a shack or whatever with, I guess it was his grandmother, and she had all the kids. She raised all the kids, and he got separated. It's just a lot, yo. I'm gonna let you read it. I don't want to tell you the whole book and shit, man. Though your physical fetters were numerous, you were driven by that which was designed to constrain. So it's one of those things when you talk about, you make your weakness your strength. You know what I'm saying? So he was in a position of weakness and like subjugation, just belittlement, all kinds of shit. Everything was disparaging. His whole surroundings, but he was empowered by that. You know what I'm saying? He was empowered. I mean, he had moments of weakness, and he tells you about that too. He was real about everything. That's why this book is so good, because he's not trying to like lead you on to some like something that's like not fathomable, whatever, or like just don't make sense. He broke it down like he give it to you from a real perspective. I find myself humbly in your footsteps with all due respect. So, as him being a rebel, I'm a rebel, but shit he went through, very extreme, but it was all, it's all in what type of mind you have, what type of heart you have, what type of spirit you have, you know what I'm saying? That's what gets you through, that's where your divinity lies, and you get in tune with that. Circumstances and all that's just stuff on the outside, but you can manipulate things to your advantage because the mind is all. But like I said, with all due respect, because it's like I got nothing but the highest respect for this guy. In my time, there can be found similarities, but I dare not make comparisons, which I broke down already. I take inspiration from your aspirations and manifold achievements. So, of course, like I said, this book is very inspiring, and he came into a lot of success insofar as his goals and his aspirations. And I mean, it's self-explanatory when you read the book, just hear how intelligent this dude was. He never went to no college and nothing. He came out the dirt full of ignorance, and the more education that he got, like, the worse he felt, but he still kept going. He still kept going, yo. He still kept learning. The more knowledge he got, the more he understood what was happening to him, what was being done to him and his people. Just think about that for a second. You know what I mean? The amount of strength and courage that took for him. You know what I'm saying? But manifold achievements. He achieved a lot. Our power is the higher, undying fire, which the ignorant and powerless miserably desire. So, the fire to me represents soul. You know what I'm saying? It represents, represents soul. It represents, that heart. You know what I'm saying? That heart that's on fire. You know what I mean? That soul that's everybody don't, they don't have that. They're not in tune with that. That's why I know we all on individual journeys, and that's why I know, like, these videos, the people who are meant to hear them, or meant to really appreciate them, or whatever they get from them when they watch, if they watch, they'll be able to take what they need to take from this, and get the understanding at whatever level of understanding that they can't even understand. You see what I'm saying? Because there's different levels to understanding, just like there's different levels to everything, So our bondage only cultivates and sharpens this power, which is truly our freedom. So, like I said, that fire represents the soul. That's what's immortal. That's what's forever. The flesh, this body, this suit that we have right now is very temporal, and it'll be over with before you know it. It's breaking down every day. You're dying every day. A little by little, you're dying every day. But we here for a reason. You know what I'm saying? We here to cultivate that which is immortal. You see what I'm saying? That fire that's inside, that soul, that heart, that, you know what I mean? That's why we here, to sharpen and cultivate that, and to get these experiences to be able to do that. So with that, that's, once you realize that, that's where the freedom comes in. You know what I mean? Just like he said, those slaves who weren't afraid to die, they couldn't really be whipped. There was nothing that really could be done to them. They did their work, they did whatever, but they were in tune with their sense of power, and that's something a coward can't understand. And I'm gonna end it right there. I am Frederick Douglass.